you. And thank you very much. This is such an incredible panel that it's really difficult to get all of our questions in. But I did want to direct a question to you, Mr. Yonke, because one of the things you said at the end of your last question was about rapid response and the urgency of this. And I know that a few weeks ago here in Ottawa, a group of Canadian practitioners, experts, organizations came together with that same sense of urgency. We have a lot of expertise. There's a lot of Canadians who've been working with NDI, Parliamentary Centre, and others. And there's, what I understood, a real sense that there's a need right now in the world for Canada. And if you could maybe talk about, because you talked about, you threw out a figure, 72% of the world is living right now under autocratic regimes. I understand that in 2004, that was only 49%. And so as we're looking for strategic security partners, as we're looking for middle powers, economic partners, the more that countries are falling into authoritarianism, the less we have those kinds of partners. So isn't it true that in effect, democracy work is actually a prerequisite for our national security and our economic interests?
For you, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. Yes, it is. We've talked about economic security in that you need to be able to trust a supply chain. You need to be able to make sure you can defend a contract. You need, fighting kleptocracy, fighting corruption, making sure that we can get that kind of work done in a fair and stable manner. You know, the problem is authoritarianism is easy. You know, democracy is very incredibly difficult. So it takes it's constantly giving your democratic institution a tune-up and supporting there. I'm worried about I'm worried about the rise of authoritarianism. There was a rise of nationalism that was spreading nationally years ago. I'm worried about a rise of authoritarianism and how it's going to affect some of our traditional trading partners and how that could look going forward. There's institutions that are looking for Canada to be present, and I think yes, as you said, at that meeting, it was agreed that the time is, there's opportunity to do more. There's no shortage of opportunities where we can go, sadly.
Mr. Balanov and Ms. Sirks, I know that the Parliamentary Centre has been working in this field for many, many years as a Canadian organization. What you talked a little bit about the model, the ODA model, the project-to-project model. In a world right now where things are happening so fast, the need to pivot, the need to work in very risky areas, what do you see as a potential future model for Canadian support for democratic development organizations like yours?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. Look, the bottom line is, as you said, and we've pointed out, we're operating project to project. It's paycheck to paycheck. This organization, the Parliamentary Centre, was born out of this institution. This is out of the beating heart of our democracy, leading organization in this country, doing this work around the world, and can barely get the job done. So what I would say is, I think from the Parliamentary Centre's perspective, we are open to what that model looks like and prepared to be at the table to have that discussion, but there is no time to wait. The urgency is right now, and that's why we believe it's really important to be here, and we're prepared to support the committee and its recommendations.
And just going back to Mr. Jonan, because we're talking about urgency, but in the world you're working with those in the Global South, that urgency is lives. That urgency is people disappearing, people being arrested. So what would you say that the people that the organizations and the movement that you're working on in the Global South is looking to countries like Canada for?
They're looking for partners, not patron. And I think that the last 25 years, 30 years of this international aid architecture was patron. So they were looking for equal partnership. They're looking for not just a government-to-government partnership, but people, citizen-to-citizen partnership. And that's where I think the importance comes.
And Dr. Wittes, if you could perhaps, I know there's been talk about whether Canada needs to have something like NDI or NED or IRI. What do you see as a sort of a unique space that Canada would be able to contribute at this point where the gaps are so huge?
My colleagues spoke about convening power. And I think that is a very important capability that Canada offers because people can come here easily. And other parts of the world are harder to travel to, harder to get in or out of. And I think Canada, I don't know if it's as a middle power, but Canada as a strong, stable, democratic, multicultural society is a welcoming place for democratic convening. So I would really foot stomp that. I think that's a very important one. I also think that the voice of the Canadian government and the Canadian Parliament on human rights matters is heard around the world. I remember, and I know it was not without controversy, but the Canadian government's response to the murder of my friend Jamal Khashoggi mattered. It mattered around the world. And we have seen transnational repression, unfortunately, increase in the years since that murder took place. But it matters when Canada stands up for what is right.
Thank you, Dr.